Yeah, welcome back to Business Morning on Channels Television. The current e-commerce spending in Nigeria is estimated at $12 billion and is projected by exports.gov to reach $75 billion in revenue per annum by 2025. This, many believe, is an indication that the economy is gradually becoming cashless. Now, that's on the one hand. On the other hand, we're looking at taxing these digital activities, because if there are more activities, then government should actually get more revenue from there. Well, we have joining us for that conversation, Professor Olawale Ajayi. He's the head of Department Strategy at the Lagos Business School. Thank you so much for joining us, Prof. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Thank you for having me.
Great. So in January, we know that in Nigeria, the government started requiring all non-resident businesses that provide digital services to charge an additional 7.5% in tax, value-added tax. In January. How effective have you seen or have you heard that being taken, and what impacts has it had so far, especially on those small businesses that use the social media platform?
Well, by and large, the provider, I mean, Meta, Google, YouTube, etc., have registered with the non-resident persons tax office of the FIRS. That's information we have. So what one expects of that is happening is that the revenue will go to government. Of course, what the taxes then get passed on to consumers ultimately. So I think that is working. It will just be added to the invoice price, and the revenues, I believe, are getting to government without any problem, or without much problem.
Without much problem. But in my head, I'm asking myself, I thought the aim was to tax the businesses. That's the Meta, you know, and all those corporates, foreign corporates. But it seems to me like those corporates, the Meta and all that, are just helping governments collect the tax from the Nigerian businesses, which at the end of the day might be another burden to those businesses. Please correct this impression, if you may.
Well, you know, VAT really is a tax on services transaction. So it's an opportunity for government to collect tax from the persons, the ultimate users. But there is also provision for companies' income tax to be collected by government. I think more classically, that would be the one where you are taxing the business. Formally, you know, in order to be accessible to companies' income tax, you needed to have a physical presence. But the concept of significant economic presence that was introduced by Executive Order 2020, and which has been carried on into the Finance Act 2021, allows companies that do significant economic business in Nigeria use a Nigerian domain name or, you know, website registered in Nigeria that derive about ₦1 million, $64,000, to be accessible to companies' income tax of 6%. I think that one, you would say that's, you know, like trying to tax the profits of the business, although the 6% is not turnover. I think that would be, as far as that is concerned. But if we're talking about VAT, it's almost like, you know, comparably or almost equivalent to sales tax or something like that. So I think that is the way we can distinguish it. The more important problem really was whether it would be possible to have the transparency to see what the two businesses doing, what it is attributing as tax and so on. But indeed, even the FIRS has deployed its own information technology system, and the law now requires companies to allow the FIRS to sort of plug into their own information technology system, and so to be able to have some view of what the transactions are. Indeed, what is happening is that the FIRS with all the other state taxing authorities are also bringing about technology that would enable them to see what people are doing on the net, both Nigerian, and so the tax net, I think, will get more effective because there's a lot of money in the digital economy. That's the new economy. And government must get revenue for services. The point, though, is that let's be careful that we don't stifle, particularly those who are the lower segments of the market and the SMEs. I think that's where we have to be a bit nuanced, or where the authorities have to try to be nuanced.
All right, Professor. So interesting, and I'm happy that you touched the issue of technology in the tax collection and measurement and all of that. But I mean, let's look at the other side also. You mentioned the small businesses, especially, not just them now. If they are paying the 7.5% VAT, and it's obviously an additional burden to them, to their costs, reduction to their profit, what should they be getting, as compensation for paying this tax? Or is it just, it's a responsibility, so they carry it out and they shouldn't expect anything?
Of course, the base tax is not, philosophically, it's not really on the basis of compensation, but tax is, you're expected to get better services, better public service. You're expected to get effective, governance. You're expected to get a better economy that, facilitates the growth of your business. You're expected to get development, not just economic growth. Also you're expected to get some redistribution of income depending on the economic philosophy and policy of government. I do know that, the Finance Act has sort of tried to give tax breaks to SMEs, particularly those who do not have, turnover of 25 million. In other words, below 25 million. There is some tax break, so to say, that the Finance Act has projected. You probably would say that is a recognition of the need, to ensure that the burdens do not kill off or alter those businesses. So I guess government will say we've tried in that regard, but of course we need to have better governance, better services, better bang for the naira that we pay. It must also be said that many SMEs are not taxed. So that is something that also needs to be worked on. Look at Lagos State, for example. I think, at least in recent times, the government has also cried out that perhaps out of the 20-something or almost 30 million persons who live in Lagos, effectively, perhaps it's only 4 million or some such funny figure that pay tax. Although some people will say that, well, the state also has ways of, collecting various levies
Yeah.
and so on to try and ameliorate that.
Yeah. All right, Professor Olawale Ajayi, the head Department of Strategy at the Lagos Business School. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. We do appreciate it and do hope that that tax net will keep expanding, you know, at least, and the government will also live up to its expectation after collecting the tax. Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you for having me. Grateful.
We'll take a break now. After that break, we'll head to Ifex Commodities Market. Stay with us. This is Business Morning on Channels Television.